Howdy, everybody. We are going to be going through the new Author Business Hub for 2026. Now, let me put out there right now, some of you, this will not be an update that you want to deal with. You might want to steal parts, which is always good, but I'm going to talk about some big fundamental changes that have happened. In the last year, we've seen authors' businesses explode in ways that I don't think we ever anticipated. And this really comes about because of translations. If you're like me, what you've been doing over the last year is you've been adding a column here and trying to keep track of Germany over here, and it's become complicated. And what's happening is I'm finding when I get to promotions, it is hard for me to track which promotions are, wait, it said that it was for this book, but it was the German edition or the French edition and not my English. So now it got confusing very quickly. So what has happened in the Author Business Hub for 2026 is there's been an update and a complete overhaul to some of the basic things, specifically around writing projects, promotions tabs, and social media. So we're going to get into that and we're going to talk about what's changed, and that way you can make decisions on, are you ready to upgrade? Me personally, I've been using the 2024 edition and I have bastardized it to the point where it's time for me to upgrade. So I'm going to be spending some time upgrading to 2026 because it'll help me with tracking my translations. So we'll see what works for you. So let's go ahead and hop over in and look at what's going on here. So we're going to make this just a little bit bigger. And then we're going to make this a little bit smaller. So right now, what we have is a couple quick features to make life a little bit easier. The first one is going to be quick actions. I've added a couple buttons. They are only able to be created by paid subscriptions, but the good news is they will work for free members. So I built them so you can have them. And what this is when you are updating, let's say your writing projects or your accounting, you have to go into that page and constantly hit add this, add this, add this, and it becomes cumbersome. This is just a little bit of a fast track, nothing groundbreaking. So you're going to see what happens is when I click add 5 projects, it added 5 additional lines down here. I already had 5 blank lines. And then now I can just start filling them in. It makes it a little bit easier when doing bulk tasks. I don't think it's a reason to make any big changes. It just makes things a little bit easier. Now, another change on the front end is going to be we've added social media links. Again, we've added Blue Sky. We've added the something, threads, nothing that you can't do on your own. So the thing that people sent me most requests about was bulking up the social media calendar. So I want to take a look at that before we get into some of the meat. The social media calendar is an independent database. So if you decide you want it, you can take it and move it into your existing Notion. It doesn't have any dependencies. It works on its own. So what I've done is I've added a couple things to the calendar just to make a little bit more information there at a glance. Because if you're like me, you just need to see what is going on for the week. And you can set this calendar for the month, for the week, whatever works best for you. Now, if we go into the social media calendar and look at the table, we can see some of the stuff that's been added. Why wasn't there pen names in here? There's pen names everywhere else. I heard you. So I've added in pen names. We've added in a couple more social medias here. We've added the statuses and we have added places where you can upload images. So any of your assets that you are putting out, you can upload them. Now, just to warn you, if you are in a free account, there is a maximum amount that you can upload. So just be aware, you might want to use it sparingly. If you're on a paid account, you can go right to town. But the big thing that people asked about was tracking success. And I'm a big person. I love a spreadsheet. So I've added in clicks, comments, likes, and shares. This way we can keep track of what is working. I like to know what my best performing materials are and what are my worst. And then I can analyze the two. So if we go look at platform likes, it now splits it out by platform and then organizes it by which one got the most likes. That way you have a fast way to see what's been most successful and you can start comparing and seeing what is working. I like this. I'm not even a social media guy, and I plan on working this into my schedule. And then last, we've added a board for um, your status. And this is really just to help you keep track of what's in process, what's not. Now, this is going to get lengthy. Some of you post 100 times a week. So it might be worth going in and doing a filter, by date. And then you can limit it to this week, last 90 days, this month, whatever works best for you. And again, what works best for you. And then just on the calendar side, we've added a little bit more content just so you can see a little bit more. And we have colored them based off what status they currently are. Again, just trying to help people get an at-glance look. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the big, big change. We have gone in and changed the writing projects. And the reason for this is it wasn't working anymore. What was happening is before, if you had a book one release, everything was listed in there, German, Spanish, whatever. And what was happening is when you went to go run a promotion, well, you're running it for German, but it's listed under your English title. And we had to separate this out. So for me personally, over the last year, I have gone from having 14 books under my romance pen name to having 30 books in a year. And for me, that was a huge explosion. If you have bigger libraries with 100 books and you've translated them all, that's 200 books, 300 books, 400. That's a lot to try and keep within one row on the table. So what I have done is actually gone and simplified it. So now what we have here is pen name, language, and you can add as many as you want. This is flexible. It is expandable. If you want to add Italian, easy peasy. Now, here are just the sample books, and you can see I have named them based off of market. You don't need to do that, because what you're going to do is if your book is called, one of mine is Infamous Heart, and then it's Coiled something in another language. I'm going to put the actual name. So English title, German title, Spanish title. I will still list them by series. I will still list them by the number in the series. And you can see now writing dates, editing dates, publishing dates, and pre-orders are now all there. But they are there for that particular title. So we will have a English book, German book, Spanish book, and for me, French. So I will have 4 of the same book, but they will be listed by their proper names in their language. This way I can track by book. So we're going to have to learn a little bit of German, Spanish, French, Italian, just so we can interpret our own titles. But I think we can kind of figure this out. And if you want, you can still group them by series. That's still an option. Now, pre-orders, I like to track my pre-orders to see what is successful, what isn't successful. It was impossible to use that metric and divide it out on the 2024 and 2025. Now, because we have separated languages, it has made it much, much easier. So I can see how successful my German books are only amongst my German. Or maybe I do want to see German and English. You can compare them now and group them however you would like by language. That wasn't a feature we had before. And then, of course, there's still word count, word goals, if you're a person who likes that. And this is where there is some new material happening. Now, what was happening for me personally was I would run a promotion on English book. And then I would be like, oh, here's a promo, but it's for French. Wait, but I just did that promo. But no, that was English. I started getting confused. And so I wanted to be able to track my promotions from here, but also on my promotions tab. So I have created some links between the two. There's links everywhere else. Why not use them there too? But here's where the important feature comes in. It will remind me how many days it's been since my last promo. And within a certain window, it'll be green. Within a certain window, it'll go yellow. And within a certain window, it'll go red. And that way I know what of my back catalog could I be promoting? When was the last time I ran a free booksy on book one? When was the last time I had a book bub on book two? I can now look at that and look when I did promotion campaigns and I can see how long it's been. I don't like using free booksy twice in a year on one book. It just doesn't have the same return. This helps me meter that out. So, of course, there's some linkage here, and we don't need to actually do anything here. These simply exist for us to understand promotions. You can hide them if you don't want to deal with them. That's perfectly fine. And then I've also added some tracking. So keeping account of our expenditures, this is independent of our finances. This is just to see how much this book costs to be made. You could put in your Scribe Shadow account. You could do your German proofreader. You can finagle it however it makes most sense to you. If this is not something that you are interested in knowing your production cost to make a title, you can remove these columns entirely. There's no impact whatsoever. They are independent of our accounting tab. And I did that intentionally to make life a little bit easier. Is it sometimes writing redundant stuff? Yes. Do I hate redundant stuff? Yes. Is this the most efficient? Absolutely. I have verified it time and time again. Now, I've added some new ways to organize the data because this is what Notion's here for. So if we go to the promotions tab, it is only going to show me stuff related to promotions, specifically the last promotion and then the days since. Easy to see what in our back catalog has not gotten some love. And then, of course, there's still by pen name, by project type. So we can split out by novels or short stories. Now we can split out by language, which will come in handy. And if you want, you can even group them by multiple language. So you can finagle this so it is English and German if you want to compare the two. Or maybe you want to see how your German market is doing against French. You can do that. And then by status of the book, by book cost, this just shows you the cost of producing the book. And this is something important for me because I'm looking right now to shrink my production costs in any way I can. The perks of being a cover designer is I have some liberties, but it also lets me keep track of in a very easy spot to see which books might be making me the most profit. And then calendars, and if you have paid accounts, you can see the charts. You're not you're not missing out on a whole lot on the charts as far as I'm concerned. They're there to be pretty, not necessarily functional. Well, they are sort of functional, but still. Okay, so we've gotten the accounting. The rest of the pages really only got updates as far as the content, just keeping it relevant to 2026. But where things got very interesting was when we go to marketing and our promotion schedule, this is where there's been a big change. And it's not a big change as far as, we're seeing, but how it works on the back end. And it all boils down to language. Now we have the ability when we do a promo. So here is my January English had a 5-day promo. I used all 5 of my KU days. Now I have the promo span and the date, which promos I used, what categories in those promos, and then ultimately the cost, the success, how many books were moved, and totals. All of that's the same. But now we have language, and this allows us to group it by language. So if you want to see a particular promo span, you can now make the promo span and you can add an additional filter for language. This is where it comes in really powerful having that extra language tab. So you're noticing a theme here. Foreign languages have become such a strong thing for a lot of indies that I had to rethink some pretty basic principles for us. Now, where it becomes extra helpful is, remember we had those linked categories on our writing project? Well, here they are. And all this does is links to the book title. That's it. That's the only thing you have to do. Link it to the book title, and it will calculate the last day since promos. That for me is a reason to upgrade to 2026. Am I going to have to put in a whole lot of info that I already have in another one? Yes. Is it going to take me a week or 2 weeks? Yes. Is the benefit going to be worth it for me personally? Absolutely. I need that type of tracking. I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm writing things on paper again. I'm using paper because it helps. And when I start breaking out paper, I know my system isn't working. So that's why this has been rebuilt. And some of it has been based off your suggestions, and some of it is just what I'm seeing in the market. So if translations are not for you, this might not be worth the update. If translations are currently on your uh, plate, or they will eventually be on, this is something you might want to consider starting to upgrade to. So let's just do a quick check to see promo days. I'm making sure that we got everything covered. Social media has been updated. The daily word tracker days have been updated. Accounting dates have been updated. Rights managements now have language rights as well. So just like everything else, language has become a big deal. So let's keep track of who is publishing what book in what language. And then the promotion schedules and quick buttons. So those are all the major changes that have happened for Notion 2026. Do I think it is an absolute dire situation for you to upgrade? No. Again, if language is a big deal for you, if you are running a lot of promos, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling overwhelmed tracking, then it might be worth the upgrade. Otherwise, I'm not too concerned, but I wanted to show you all these options because I want you to make informed decision moving forward. So if you have questions, you can 100% reach out to me. The Notion dashboard for 2026 is available in your account on CoverVillain. So just log in, you can access it, download it, and then you can pick out parts that work for you. I am all about customization. You won't hurt my feelings if you don't like certain things. But if you have questions, shoot me an email. I can do additional videos. I can respond. I want to make sure that authors are being organized and that you're feeling confident on your back end. And for me, I feel a little bit chaotic at the moment, and that means something's not working. For me, Notion 2026 will help wrangle that in. All right. So thank you for coming along on this ride. Hope everything's being organized. And now it's time for you to get back to your writing and stop worrying about your business back end. All right. Take care.